Small towns are supposed to be safe. Quiet streets, friendly neighbors, and the comfort of believing that violence is something that happens out there. In the cities, on the news, never in your own backyard. But on a chilly November morning in 2001, that illusion was shattered in Florence, Montana, a town of fewer than 1,000 people. Inside a small salon called the Hair Gallery, 3 women were brutally murdered. To this day, no one has been held accountable. And at the center of it all remains a haunting image. A mysterious man in a dark suit and a hat, standing outside the salon, never identified, never found. This is the story of the Florence Salon Murders. November 6, 2001, began like any other Tuesday in Florence. The Hair Gallery Salon, a cozy shop in the heart of town, had its regular appointments scheduled. Owner Dorothy Harris, a beloved stylist, welcomed her customers with her usual warmth. Alongside her was Brenda Patch, one of her employees, and that morning's customer, Cynthia Pace. Just before 11 a.m., another client arrived for her appointment. As she walked toward the salon, she noticed something strange. A man standing outside the building. He was dressed unusually for a small Montana town. A dark suit, polished shoes, and a hat pulled low. He wasn't smoking or talking on the phone or even moving, just standing. The client brushed it off and stepped inside. What she found would change Florence forever. The salon was a nightmare. Dorothy, Brenda, and Cynthia were dead, each brutally murdered. Blood stained the walls, the floor, the styling chairs. It was the kind of scene more at home in a crime drama than a small-town hair salon. The woman fled and called police, who arrived minutes later. The murders were shocking not just for their brutality, but for their setting. This wasn't an alleyway or a dark highway. It was a busy salon in broad daylight on a Tuesday morning, and the killer was nowhere to be found. Investigators quickly sealed off the scene, but as they searched for answers, they found little to work with. There were no signs of forced entry, no shattered glass, no broken locks. That meant the killer either walked in freely or had been let in. Surprisingly, nothing of value appeared to be missing. Cash, purses, jewelry, everything was untouched. This didn't look like a robbery. Still, detectives did find 2 potential clues. The first was a pair of sunglasses left behind inside the salon. They weren't typical salon decor, and no one recognized them as belonging to the victims. The second was a bloody palm print, pressed onto a counter near one of the victims. It was detailed enough to be useful, and investigators hoped it would one day match someone in their system. But in 2001, the technology wasn't what it is today. Neither clue immediately led to a suspect. Meanwhile, the witness account of the man in the hat took on new importance. Detectives sketched out his description and distributed composite drawings. A tall man, dressed in a dark suit, with a hat that obscured much of his face. But despite the sketches, no one in Florence recognized him. No one came forward to say they had seen him before or after that morning. It was as though he had appeared out of nowhere and then vanished into thin air. For weeks, investigators chased leads. They checked local drifters, questioned ex-boyfriends, looked into known troublemakers. But every lead dried up, and so fear settled over Florence. If a man could walk into a salon at 11 a.m. and kill 3 women, and then disappear without a trace, who might be next? Years passed, and the case grew cold. But detectives never gave up. In the mid-2000s, they revisited the evidence, hoping forensic advances could shed new light. The palm print and sunglasses were tested again, but still no breakthrough. Then a new theory emerged. Montana, like much of rural America, had been hit hard by methamphetamine trafficking in the late 1990s. Investigators began to wonder if the murders were tied to drugs. Not that Dorothy, Brenda, or Cynthia were involved, but what if they had witnessed something they weren't supposed to see? This theory gained traction when federal prosecutors announced in 2008 that 2 men were being charged with the Florence Salon Murders, Lincoln Benavides and Brian Weber. Benavides was accused of running a meth distribution network. Weber was said to be one of his associates. Prosecutors argued that the murders might have been connected to their drug activity. For the first time in 7 years, Florence had hope. Families of the victims prepared themselves for answers, but cracks in the case quickly appeared. There was no forensic evidence tying Benavides or Weber to Salon. The palm print? Not a match. The sunglasses? Nothing useful. Witnesses? Unreliable. Often criminals themselves bargaining for lighter sentences. The prosecution's theory was circumstantial at best and flimsy at worst. Defense attorneys argued their clients were being used as scapegoats, targeted because of their criminal records rather than solid evidence. And as the trial neared, the case collapsed. Prosecutors dropped the charges. Just like that, Florence was back to square one. The families were devastated. For a brief moment, justice had seemed within reach. Now, they were told once again there were no answers, and the man in the hat remained a mystery. The aftermath of the failed prosecution left scars not just on the families, but on the entire community. For Dorothy Harris's family, memories of her warmth and generosity clashed with the brutality of her death. For Brenda Patch's loved ones, her laughter was now a ghost in their lives. For Cynthia Pace's family, the cruelest truth was that she wasn't even supposed to be there that morning. She had simply shown up for an appointment and never came home. Florence itself changed. Parents became more protective, business owners more cautious, and the story of the Hair Gallery murders became part of the town's identity. A shadow that still lingers more than 2 decades later. Investigators have never closed the case. The palm print and sunglasses remain in evidence, waiting for the day technology or a new suspect might provide a match. But theories still swirl. Was it a botched robbery? The lack of theft suggests otherwise. Was it drug-related? Benavides and Weber's collapse in court left that trail cold. Was it a personal vendetta? The rage in the murders could point to something deeply personal. Or was it the work of a drifter or serial killer passing through Florence and leaving carnage's wake? No one knows. The man in the hat remains the most enduring figure in this case. A phantom witness saw him that morning, but no one has ever identified him. Did he kill again? Did he vanish into another town, another state, another life? Or did he take his secret to the grave? The Florence Salon murders remain unsolved, and until someone comes forward or technology delivers a missing piece, Florence will always live with the same haunting question. Who was the man in the hat, and why did he choose them? If you have any information about the Florence Salon murders, contact the Ravalli County Sheriff's Office. Even the smallest tip could be the breakthrough investigators have waited for since November 6, 2001, because justice delayed is still justice worth fighting for. More than 2 decades have passed since that November morning in Florence, Montana, but the questions remain. Who was the man in the hat? Why did 3 innocent women have to die? And how could someone commit such violence in broad daylight, then vanish without a trace? The families of Dorothy Harris, Brenda Patch, and Cynthia Pace are still waiting for justice. And until this case is solved, Florence will always live under the shadow of that unanswered question. If you have any information about the Florence Salon murders, please contact the Ravalli County Sheriff's Office. Sometimes even the smallest memory, the smallest detail, can break a case wide open. Thank you for watching. If you found this video compelling, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story we cover. And remember, every case deserves answers and every victim deserves justice.